It's all about who does it faster.
Ideas are cheap, vision's really expensive.
Do it for 8-year-old you, do it
Yeah.
for 18-year-old you.
Do it scared. You've just got to go and take some action.
Hey guys, welcome back to What I Wish I Knew Sooner. I'm Serenity.
And I'm Sana.
And today we're joined by the amazing Adam Smith, co-founder of HelpBnk and Chief Community Officer. HelpBnk is a fast-growing business community and platform that's helping people start, run and grow their own businesses.
We'll be talking all about breaking free from the traditional path, what it really takes to build a business from scratch, and the mindset shifts that come from entrepreneurship.
Hey Adam.
Hey.
Welcome to What I Wish I Knew Sooner. It's so good to have you here. Obviously, I met you at Ideas Fest. It was so nice to meet you and the team, and you're all so lovely, by the way. And yeah, it's just really nice to be in the same community, entrepreneur community, and see you at events. Can you give us a quick introduction to who you are?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Adam Smith. I'm the head of community at HelpBnk and across Simon's ecosystem. I am focused mostly on events and ensuring that the community is bonded both on platform and off, whether that's the educational side of things through webinars or through just the engagement side of it and how that relates to the rest of the brand. So we are essentially a community-based company. So it's crucial that our community is heard. We are probably putting them into every single space. And of course, HelpBnk as a platform is the place where that community is nurtured. So
Oh, amazing. We're excited to hear more about HelpBnk, but first of all, we're seeing more and more people turn their backs on the traditional path. And we've seen that you've been very open about how that didn't necessarily work out for you.
yeah,
Can you explain why?
this culture of turning the back on the traditional system, I think it also depends which echo chamber you're in. I think on social media, it becomes quite loud for these things, and it's a perfect platform for that. I am a case in point, the sort of the archetype of the things you should have done, and then the alternative switch halfway through.
Yeah.
I did all the things that a person at school should have done. I got all the right grades, went to an average school, and went to university, got the right degree, and then got a job in the thing that I did the degree in. But the point of that is I didn't really have a focus on the direction. It was always just do the thing that you're okay at, or you're best at, and then follow that path.
Yeah.
I didn't conceive of going into pharmaceutical research. It wasn't a thing that I thought I wanted to do, and therefore I backtracked with that path to follow. But I did. I ended up there and did 6 years in research. But I very quickly realized that actually research doesn't pay very well unless you love the science, and you have to love the science.
Yeah.
It means that you end up in a role which you could stay in for life. And there were people that were staying in those roles for life. And I just wanted more. And whether that was more freedom or more financial well-being, I could have had a very good salary for my entire life in that career. But I wanted a bit more. And that's what the traditional path taught you. It was school, university, job, career, pension,
Stability.
and then retire. And these people were around me all of the time. But I chose not to. I chose to go and do something different. And the step that I took was wildly different because it was a step into the unknown insofar as I didn't have a plan. I just didn't do this.
Yeah.
So I stepped into, we just got on a plane and left the country when we went traveling for a year.
No. Where
We-
did you go?
We flew straight to Cambodia.
Wow.
And this was 2008. So it was a fairly well-worn traveling path, but to go from a very controlled environment in research to you're now in a taxi going across Cambodia and I don't know what's going to happen next,
Yeah.
is quite a big shock. So the biggest culture shock I think I could have gone through. And my partner was the driving force in this. And we just went around the world, but we had no conception about what we would do. We didn't know when we were coming back. It was an open-ended ticket and we only had a small amount of money.
I feel like this is how the best
Yeah.
entrepreneur stories always start.
Exactly right.
traveling.
100%, because you just leave your comfort zone and you just
Massively.
go out into the wild
Yeah.
and find out what you want to do.
But the beauty of that was, that's how the beauty of that, we ran out of money.
Yeah.
And the only way to earn more money is to do traveling type jobs. And the quickest way to earn money when you're traveling is to do sales.
Mm.
And I'd never been exposed to sales. We were working in a research facility. sales can be taught and sales should be taught. Simon's messaging on sales is really key. Sales should be taught in schools, and I completely agree. But I had to learn on the fly. And that was in the city streets of Sydney, earning 100% commission. So if you didn't sell, you didn't eat. Knocking door to door
Wow.
in some of the worst parts of Sydney, like the worst parts of Sydney. And there are some not nice parts. But the beauty of that was there's always another door. There's always another door to knock on. There's always another sale to make. And you learn very quickly that actually the quicker you get through the no's, it gives you access to that next yes. So
Yeah.
if you get into the right frame of mind, it's the same with any sales anywhere. The quicker you can move through that, the more you're likely to close. So that was the way we earned money, to be able to even get back.
Wow. It's so true. I feel so that's essentially like rejection therapy as well. So like
Absolutely.
you're constantly being
Full immersion.
rejected until you get that yes, you're like, oh wait, it works.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And the beauty of that was I was running a team within 10 days. They gave me a team of 14 people within 10 days.
Wow.
And which again was a bit of a shock. But this traditional path question is, none of that was on the traditional path. And that immersion is great. And after that, I was like, you know what? I think I ought to start my own business.
Yeah.
So that's what we came back to the UK to do. And the beauty of then running a business is that it does give you a bit more freedom. It gives you some constraints as well, of course, especially in the early days. But yeah, the freedom over choice and time and what you do with what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's so inspiring. And I think it will be so inspiring to our audience, and especially like me and Senna, because obviously that's the dream for us. That's the end goal, like being able to own your own business and kind of live life doing what you love. Like that's what HelpBnk encourages people to do. And
Absolutely.
I spent the whole of like last year realizing, oh my God, I've been following a system, and your brain just suddenly rewires
Yeah.
completely.
You're kind of programmed to think that that is a safe option, isn't it? And that you should follow the system. And it is quite scary leaving that.
Yeah.
I also think the safe options changed
Yeah.
because and Simon talks about this a lot, it's the rise of AI, the lack of graduate jobs, the reduction in graduate positions. I don't think that is the safe route anymore.
No.
The safe route is the knowledge that's accessible to everybody else. You need that work ethic, and there's a generational shift. This generation doesn't drink as much. They don't party as much. There's far more focus on personal health, metrics that you wear on your wrist. All of these things contribute to the fact that I think there's a focus on lifestyle, health, wealth, moving through a different phase of things. And actually, I think that might actually be safer
Yeah.
because the focus is on work ethic and moving your position in life forwards.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was, you could go out and you could party through your 20s and I'll figure it out later.
Yeah, work hard, play hard.
But that ethos, certainly in the people I speak to, just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. A lot of people, well, what I've seen online as well is a lot of these Gen Z and graduates, they're applying for so many jobs and they're not getting any, and they feel really disheartened. So they are turning to, creating online.
Yep.
And then they're realizing like, oh crap, this is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And those graduate positions, I think, if you are in a position where you're like, I have a really specific vocation that I want to go and do, and that requires a degree, then of course it makes sense, right? You go and do your thing. But if you're even slightly unsure, or you have a slightly different dream about what you want for your career to be, just go and spend time with those people who are doing it. Find a way in.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be paid necessarily. You can go and do a job in your spare time, or you find another way, but go and be in around those people that have purpose, that are doing the thing that you want to do, and invariably add value. You'll find a way. We've got some incredible stories from our ecosystem of people who have deliberately positioned themselves in and around what we do. And now they work with us, and it's incredible. So they are actually so mission driven and aligned with the values of what we do. They're the best people to work with. So, and it works really well.
You learn so much from each other as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Simon talks about purpose so deeply, and he talks about managing purpose, not people. And I think that's really interesting from an interior perspective, because everybody in our teams are aligned on mission, purpose, vision. And the mission, purpose, vision from the outside is very, very clear. But we're all working towards it internally, which means there's no performance management, there's no hours, there's no sick days monitoring. it doesn't matter, because people work so hard because it's so value aligned. You don't need to monitor any of that stuff. And that
Yeah.
goes straight to Simon's point of he manages purpose. His purpose is right, and the people are right to fit that purpose. You don't have to worry about the rest.
No, because they love what they're doing,
Yeah.
and you just don't need to monitor them.
How do you ensure that everyone's got the right, all the same purpose, mission, values?
I think you're either drawn to this ecosystem because of that or not. And it comes out in the wash. That sounds really harsh, but the thing that people may not see from the outside is the work ethic of the people on the inside. I've never worked harder. And Simon said to me a long time ago, it's like, well, what are you doing now? I was like, well, I'm doing swords and sods, but not a lot, because I sold a company. That was the whole point, right? The whole point was I didn't have to work really hard again. But the purpose piece was missing. He said, hang around with people with purpose, it's infectious. He's right. So, the value alignment inside is kind of self-selecting, because anybody that isn't value aligned just doesn't stay.
Yeah, totally.
And it's either the leadership or anybody involved in any portion of the business works exceptionally hard because the value is there because of the mission.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you know what? One thing I'd love to know, because I hear so much about HelpBank, but I never actually hear the story of how it came to life. Because it's 3 of you who own the company.
There's several people as the founding group.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow,
So
okay.
Callum, Jack, Simon, and then Adam, myself, and Yordi. There's
Yeah.
a group of the sort of early founders. HelpBank was born out of this MVP that is Simon's content. Simon's content is huge, and he has an enormous number of followers. But the theory behind it was Simon can only help one person a day. How do you create a situation where everybody helps each other all of the time? And the only way to do that is through community and through a platform that allows people to get that help or give that help. And a digital platform made sense to do that. So using Simon as the MVP, as it were, to say, well, he can help one person. And he says in his content all the time, I've helped one or I've helped 2 people per day. And that's been my mission for many, many years. HelpBank is the extension of that. It's how do we get help at scale? Help at scale is actually not one person doing it. It's everyone doing it for each other, with that give without take mentality. So that was how it was born,
Yeah.
as a scalable version of Simon.
That's so nice. And I think community is huge right now, because
is,
obviously
it is.
AI and everyone just wants to feel that real connection.
And events. I think that the in real life spaces become electric now, because we had COVID and that did whatever it did. But also the rise in AI means that people do feel disconnected. And the only way really to connect with someone is to do it face to face.
Yeah.
We have Zoom meetings all the time. I went into the office today, and I went for a coffee with a guy called Tobias. Tobias is our head of marketing, and he used to run marketing for Alex Hormozy.
Oh, wow.
So
That's so cool.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
And if I'd not gone to the office, we wouldn't have gone for coffee. I'm not going to schedule a Zoom meeting with him to go and talk about the kinds of things we talked about. But there's such insight into those mini conversations or those side conversations, both for the business and for personally, for either development or just insight. And then that speaks to events. There are so many things that happened at Ideas Fest, which would never have happened in any other curated space. So many opportunities, so many new customers or partnerships that went on. So I'm really excited about the real life spaces for this year. It's
Is
gonna
that a
be,
big priority for you then?
for me, it's about making sure the community is seen and heard and making sure they have an opportunity to interact. So, I'm really excited about the in real life spaces. There is something that I'm working on, which has only come to light in the last few days, is I want the community to be able to host their own events. We'll give them a
Yeah.
playbook on exactly what it means to hold a HelpBank event. I haven't said this anywhere else. But I'm hoping that we have the opportunity and the remit that our community is such a tight-knit thing, that they can then hold regional, small-scale HelpBank community to actually facilitate that message across the country. We are a small team, and
Yeah.
we're relatively resource limited. And whilst we will hold events across the country, we did one in Liverpool in the middle of last week, which we did up and back in a day, which is tough. But those are really important for those people to actually go and do these things. So
Definitely.
I'm excited for the next, what that might mean.
So does that mean that your employees can host their own event, or anyone in the community?
I'm
like, on
hoping, we haven't done this yet, but I'm hoping that people in the community can hold them.
That's a really good idea.
So we can join the community.
So yeah, and the idea, I mean, we'll start with the ambassadors, because the ambassadors are incredible. They are such cheerleaders for what we do, why they've been selected. But the idea that they could do it with our support, with our guidance, with a playbook for the brand alignment that it needs to have, it creates scalable opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's my hope for some of the next phase of things. There's lots of things happening, but that's one of them.
Exciting.
It'll be good.
Obviously, HelpBnk is a direct response to everything you initially mentioned about the system and stepping away from the traditional path and community building. Who would you say it's really for, and what is the problem that it's solving that they aren't necessarily getting elsewhere?
Who is it for? We believe that entrepreneurship should be available to everybody. Is it right for everybody to follow that? Not necessarily, but it's about informed consent. So people should have the opportunity to be entrepreneurs, or at least find freedom through entrepreneurial activities. So I would argue it's for anybody who, in Simon's words, has a dream and wants to take action on what that might mean. For me, it's about giving people access to opportunities to start and do something that might sit outside of what they think their normal life might be. Let them start a podcast or support them in doing so. Go and pursue a real passionate interest in something that they wanted to do all their lives, and give them the tools to be able to do so. What we want to be able to do is to be able to give them direct access. It is always free, and that's the mantra internally is access to tools, access to help is always free. Because otherwise there's that barrier to entrepreneurship. There are plenty of courses that you can buy, but honestly, there's plenty of information out there, and we want to be able to curate that information in a way that allows direct action. Mm-hmm. Because it's not necessarily easy. It's a difficult thing to do. But with community, with support, with all the right things in place, then it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
The information that they get, the support they get, the platform, everything that goes with that is something that isn't easily accessible anywhere else, because there are paywalls everywhere. So that's the idea. The idea is it's democratizing help and access and the freedom to be making those choices.
When I go to events, I see you guys are like, sign up to this tool. Is that what you help people sign up to tools?
Yeah, I mean, the one that you're referring to was probably what you saw at Ideas Fest, and it's the starter kit tool that we have. We want to ensure that help is always free. Early stage entrepreneurship requires certain tools. You might need access to bookkeeping. You might need access to our website. We work with those partners to facilitate that for free to anyone that works with us, and we give them mentorship directly on how to use those tools, how to start. And that's the affiliate model there is part of the revenue model for HelpBnk.
Well, that's so good. And you must be helping like thousands of people.
Yeah. How many people went through that process last week? 110 last week alone.
Yeah.
So that's direct access to mentorship, either one-on-one or in a group. Sometimes that's with Simon. Simon's also doing group mentorship for small groups. But that creates opportunity for them to be able to start. The Accelerator is the next step on from that. So that's really interesting.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Accelerator?
Yeah. So from the back of starter kits, we have all of these people coming into our community and getting a half hour's worth of mentorship, and it's all for free. But some of those mentors are genuine experts in what they do. Again, Tobias is one of those people. He's done incredible things with Alex, and he's doing incredible things with us. So his insight is really, really valuable, and it's free. But the question from a lot of those people was, well, what's next? You get all the tools, it's all for free, you get the advice, now off you go. Well, some people need a bit more than that to either take the action or just move things forward. So the accelerator was a natural extension of what that might mean. So the accelerator is deliberately designed to take people from idea or that early stage through to their first customer. I'm giving you step-by-step guidance every single day with deliberate action that you must take to be able to complete the accelerator and a prize fund at the end. So it's access to £7,500 in dollars, in 3 prize pools, but only if you take the action.
Okay.
So if you don't take the action, you don't get access to the money. But what we're finding is that over 1,000 people join the accelerator. They're all fully engaged. I did a kickoff webinar last Monday. We had not a single drop off over the course of the webinar. Everybody was engaged. Everybody stayed. And then the specific actions that follow on from that. People are really uncomfortable taking these actions.
What kind of actions are they?
Do a face-to-camera video for 1 minute talking about your idea.
Right.
So the kind of ick of content, you've got to get over that thing and then you've got to post it. And you don't have to post it on Instagram. You can post it on HelpBnk within a specific group that's just for those accelerator entrants. But it's still that thing, that hurdle you've got to get over. Then post feedback for 5 other people, reach out to 10 people and create a free offer for 10 people in your immediate network. Doesn't have to be paid. You're not selling anything yet. But what that does is it forces you into a pattern of creating action, which is what you need as an entrepreneur to start with. And eventually you create a paid offer and then you sell it to someone. You can go from 0 to 1. And the phrase I used in the early accelerator was, can you really call yourself an entrepreneur if you've not sold anything? Which seems a bit harsh. But this accelerator is designed to do exactly that. It gets you to the stage where you've actually sold something.
Yeah, to push you.
And to push you through. And then funding off the back of that creates an opportunity to accelerate that even further off the back of it.
Do you see a big range of businesses?
Yeah, it could be anything from an agency to a service-led business to a product design to lots of apps and design work. There's no limit to the scope of what people are building. It's just take some action.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to move things forward.
Yeah. And have you had any success stories? Are there any businesses we would know of?
The accelerator, this particular accelerator started last week. So as yet, but what's interesting in the ecosystem, there's one guy I refer to a lot of the time. I've taken him and entered him into a couple of other accelerators with third parties. He was working in the police. He saw an opportunity to do real good because it's purpose-led business is a lot of what we do. He went through the accelerators. His work ethic is beyond reproach. And it was about fly tipping and stopping fly tipping and then making sure that it was monitored and there's a flow there that sits behind the scenes. So they built a platform. He found his co-founder in HelpBnk. They got funding through third-party accelerators through HelpBnk. They have contracts with DEFRA and they're on course to be a multi-million-pound business.
Wow.
So those kind of stories that are coming through the ecosystem, business success is a really long tail. It takes a while to determine whether or not those businesses are successful. HelpBank's been going just shy of 3 years. So we're just beginning to see those sort of early roots of those people at the very early stages having these things that are really incredible, genuinely happening.
Amazing. I love that. So it's really different to the traditional social media model, HelpBank. It's more of a community platform where you encourage each other. Why was creating something like this important to you? I know obviously because you want to help people.
Social media is a interesting place to be at the moment. The idea of a community platform where people help each other isn't necessarily about watching what's going on. It's about interacting with each other and interacting for purpose. So you're either there to support someone who's doing something meaningful to create something important in their life, or you're doing it for yourself and then you're getting that support. Social media, for me at least, looks more like a position of observer. You're watching somebody else do something a lot of the time. This was more about participating, getting involved, getting direct support, getting help for the thing that you want to do, the thing that you want to build. And social media has a purpose. I don't think that's its purpose. I think you can observe people doing great things, but it doesn't feel like there's a huge amount of interaction that's purpose built to move you forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was more about what it was about.
Makes sense.
I think social media has literally changed so much over the years because everyone is building their business on it now. And
Yeah.
it's an amazing platform for the good.
I heard a weird statistic at the weekend, which is AI content is increasing by 5% per month in terms of volume of posts on site at the moment.
Wow.
So AI generated content will become the majority of content, which doesn't leave a huge amount of room for personal brand or small business building on social media.
Yeah.
Give it a year. Dan Priestley said this in a recent interview.
Yeah.
He says, if you didn't have, you've got 12, Dan Priestley's comment was, you've got 12 months to make a personal brand.
Yeah, you
'Cause
literally do.
After that, you probably won't be able to.
You know that time in like 2020 when everyone was on TikTok or crypto, like this is the time you have 1 year.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it. That's why I'm going all in.
Otherwise, AI just takes over and your feed will be swamped with AI content.
So does that mean that we need to start showing up authentically as us so we're not using the AI generated content?
I mean, personal brand building is an art in and of itself. I think authenticity is critical for building personal brand. And people will either resonate with you or they won't. Simon's audience and subsequently HelpBank's audience is built on that authenticity of interaction. And now that he has this incredible voice and this incredible presence, that probably won't go away no matter what happens. And this is the beauty of people who have built personal brand over the last 6 years. That voice of authority will continue. Building now is about making sure that your content is really directed. It's really specific, authentic to your audience, and that audience is quite niched. Doing these massive, wide, broad personal branding plays, I think, is going to be way more hard, way more difficult.
Definitely.
So.
Oh,
Okay.
I need to get on it.
Yeah, we need to work on that.
Literally.
So you've mentioned a few times about purpose-driven businesses. Can you talk to us a bit about the idea of the 10% club? Because I know that's about businesses that operate for profit but also do good.
The central tenet across what we do was we could have started a charity, right? We could have made HelpBank a not-for-profit or a charity model or a CIC. But there is freedom in a limited company structure. As long as purpose and good are at the core of it, there is huge scope for doing great things. The 10% club that Simon talks about, and he talked about this on stage in Dubai at the Creator HQ for Billion Follower Summit, was that any of the companies in our ecosystem that produce profit, 10% will go back into a fund to help dreamers.
Okay.
This was always Simon's idea. Simon spoke to me about this 6 years ago before he started posting on TikTok. He talked about creating a fund through profitable companies to be able to give back, but without the constraints of other structures. What we would love to do is create opportunities for other companies to come into the ecosystem and donate 10% of their profits to be able to give back to dreamers, to be able to help launch their businesses. So we're creating that opportunity and the mechanisms around that so that that's possible at least.
Right.
We will do that with our own branches to the business. And hopefully we will find other companies who will also do the same. I've spoken to a couple of companies that have already committed to doing so. So it's kind of almost flies in the face of the charity model, because what we can do is we can track every single penny and we can be very public about it. Because there's this image slightly that the charity model sometimes doesn't have complete transparency about where that money goes.
Yeah.
But we can be transparent. Simon's been funding dreamers on the street for 5 years.
Yeah.
So directly giving money to people to start their own business, that isn't necessarily an investment. That is just a fund to be able to go, for them to go and do the thing that they need to go and do. And we can then potentially do that at scale using something like this. And hopefully that then helps more people reach their dream of whatever it is that they choose to do.
Yeah.
Might not necessarily be a business. It might be something else, but at least that creates opportunity.
I love watching the videos where he's walking into places on the street and he's like, "What do you want, the book or the money?"
Yeah, that's right. And they're like, "I'll take the book." And
Yeah.
then there's 10 grand in his other hand. And I'm like, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting choice.
But those are the real people who,
Yeah.
will make it because they wanna grow their knowledge and learn how to build the business as well.
It's having the book and then taking the action.
Yeah.
That's the real key part. A lot of people procrastinate in the gaining knowledge phase,
Yeah.
but actually you need far less knowledge than you think and way more action than you think.
Yeah.
Just skew in that direction, and that's actually where most of the success lies.
Yes, because we keep hearing a lot like start before you're ready.
Yeah,
Just make a
absolutely.
start, otherwise you never will.
There's a great phrase. Again, I've heard it in a couple of different locations, and Simon used it on stage when we were in Dubai, was do it scared.
Mm.
And I love this phrase. And it's actually a phrase I use with my
Yeah.
daughter as well, going through some things. She's 9 years old, and we talk about this things like, Daddy, I don't want to do this. And it's like, well, just do it scared then.
Yeah.
And it's such a great phrase that I wish I'd known before.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I did do it scared a lot of the time. No idea what I was doing a lot of the time.
That
That
sounds
sounds
great.
bad,
Yeah.
but it's, those early stage business ideas, you've just got to go and take some action, and you don't know what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah.
And you're really nervous about what it might mean. But just go and do it anyway.
The best things I've ever done in my life have been done by doing it scared.
Absolutely.
The moments you're most proud of, especially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And yeah, I think back to all the different things that I've done across the time in the various businesses that I've run. Doing it scared is just, you've got to go and just have a crack at it, because if you wait for the time to be safe or wait for the time to be perfect, that time just won't come. So
Or
you kind
even
of just got to lean into it.
Or even if you wait for permission from someone else.
Permission's really interesting.
Yeah.
We talk an interesting bit about mindset, about permission. I work with a mindset coach, and she talks about giving people permission, because people sometimes need it, and empowering people to give themselves permission to take an action. It's a really interesting way of thinking about things, because people feel as though they need that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you don't need permission. And one thing I've learned from being around great entrepreneurs over the course of the last 2 years is it's not needing permission and having the audacity to just do it. One of the phrases I would use about Simon is audacious. He just takes on these enormous ideas and then just takes action right there. Not a lot of other people I know do that. And when I've had these conversations with him, he's like, okay, well, how do we do it right now? Not let's have a meeting, not I'll send you an email, right now. And I've seen him do no, I probably won't do that.
You say too much. Say it.
Yeah. But he does. He takes these immediate actions, which ultimately that's how you produce incredible results.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, it's interesting to be around.
Because you need someone like that in your life who is just going to be like, no, let's do it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what you did the other day, like when we needed to set up that limited company. And then you're like, no, let's just do it now. And I'm like,
But
okay,
you do
great.
that a lot as well.
Yeah. And all of our ecosystem encourages people to take those actions. The Accelerator is the same, Starter Kit's the same, the platform's the same. Simon in his content on the street is the same. It's like, how do we do it now? How do you take the action now? Well, or I'm going to give you 100 quid, so I'll be your first customer. Well, that mindset shift is like, well, hold on a sec, I've got a customer, so I kind of have to do it now. It's all about immediacy. Do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mindset shift for a lot of people, because people think that they need to go and do a bunch of other stuff. Well, actually, you just need to take the action.
I think that was my issue last year. I thought I had to learn how to become an entrepreneur and how to do this. And I spent so long listening to these podcasts, and I'm happy I did. And I bought Simon's book, and I know we did create the podcast, but I was like, I could have done more action.
So learn by doing.
Yeah, you learn by doing.
So if I was going to create a podcast, I'd go and buy some mics and some cameras, and then just find one person to go and interview. It would be terrible. But you would learn more in the failure of what the action was than actually by reading the thing. And yes, you could go and
We did that.
Ours were terrible.
yeah.
We were saying the other day, you could literally watch each episode and it will be like really bad and then
It
suddenly
slowly
get
improves,
better.
Yeah, exactly. And the editing stuff will come by, and or outsource the actual other
Yeah.
bits of work, because there are plenty of experts out there who want to get stuck into something, especially if it's purpose driven,
Mm.
and utilize the resources at your fingertips. But just take the action.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think because a lot of people have the same ideas as well, but it's all about who does it faster, like who can actually take the action. Because a lot of people will just sit on an idea for years and like
Absolutely.
not do anything with it.
I was saying ideas are cheap.
Yeah.
Execution's really expensive. So you just have to really lean into it. Ideas actually don't necessarily have to either be good or new.
Mm.
Your idea can be very much the similar. Your business model can be adopted from existing business models. You could just flat out copy another one.
Yeah.
How you then go about executing for your brand, with your energy, with your value that you're going to deliver to your customer. My first business wasn't novel. It wasn't new. It was a complete identical copy of what dozens of other people were doing in the marketplace. But we were the best because of the energy that we brought, from the execution that we delivered, from the work ethic, and the value that we brought to our own customer, because we wouldn't settle for lower quality standards.
Mm.
So the execution of the exact same process that everybody else was doing was not just incrementally different, it was exceptionally different, both in the product delivery and the service that we provided. Because in that early research, again, do it scared. I had no idea. Knocking on doors, having conversations that I wasn't ready for, just go and do it anyway. I would always ask the questions like, what is your current supplier not doing that we could do better?
Yeah.
Well, actually, their service isn't great, or the product quality is not great. And don't speak to the guy who pays the bills, because he's going to lie, because he has a vested interest, because he made a decision to hire that guy.
Yeah.
Go and find somebody else in the ecosystem who actually is suffering with that pain point that doesn't have to pay the bill.
Yeah.
So we go and speak to, other people in that service delivery space. They're the ones that get the complaints from that person. Well, they're the person you're probably going to get more information from, because I'm here to solve that problem. That's the value that I can deliver, which then, makes the other guy look better. So that's what we did for many, many years. And that's why we had a business that we could sell.
Wow. That's amazing.
So yeah, it's trying to push that value forward and trying to make sure that that's how it's perceived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So a lot of our listeners are in their 20s and 30s, thinking about starting something on the side of their current job, or, have a side hustle at the moment. What would you say is the first real step people should focus on?
The first real step. It's going to sound a little trite because it's coming from our ecosystem, but what's the reason for starting? If it's just financial, and then I say just financial, I don't want to take anything away from that. That's really important. But do it with purpose. Do something that matters. And purpose can come from different places. It can be something that you really, really love, something that you thought you would always do, but haven't found a way to do yet. Or it can something that I spoke to in the recent Accelerator it can come from a place of difficulty. So it could be something that you went through that was really, really hard. Well, if you went through something really hard, chances are you learned something. And therein lies purpose. Maybe you can do something for that person that you were by virtue of helping somebody else who was also in that difficult situation. A lot of people are searching for meaning in a modern world, because it's very easy to go into, well, actually, I'm going to go and do a job in that traditional path that we've already talked about. But I think meaning is so much more valuable to people now than it used to be, because people are more aware. And there's so much of it online to say, well, actually, why are we here? What's the meaning behind it? So I think if those people that are starting to look for a side hustle, do something meaningful, because it will sustain you in a way that the rest won't. You will put more effort in. You'll get out of bed for it. You might get up early and do it before work, because it speaks to something slightly deeper.
Yeah.
That's where I would start. It doesn't have to make money straight away. Do it for free first, maybe, but find out where you can add value. Because if you can add value to somebody, or a company or something else, you'll find a way to monetize it. There are standard routes to monetization, but try and add value to someone else or something else,
Yeah.
and do it with a purpose.
I've always heard that you should try and do it with someone else because I guess it gets you going a bit more and like you have someone to
Motivate you.
yeah.
It's a bit of accountability as well, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to procrastinate if you're by yourself. If you're accountable to somebody else, then I think accountability works brilliantly for me. I really enjoy having someone or some group to be accountable to. And I think the founder journey can be lonely. This is why we built HelpBnk, so that we can create community, so it doesn't have to be. But having someone that really deeply understands what you're trying to build, that's working alongside you, I think is hugely valuable. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's really nice just like seeing all the things that people are building at the moment, like
Yeah.
just because they want to
Yeah.
and because they're passionate about it. Like this came out of a passion for
Yeah.
us.
And I always think you're more passionate about, to touch on what you said to begin with, if it's a problem that you face yourself, you're going to be more
Absolutely.
passionate in terms of like finding a solution for that and
Yeah.
solving that for other people. So
Absolutely. And it always speaks to that person that you used to be, or when you were going through that difficulty. Obviously, reference Simon again. He always talks about that 15-year-old boy who's always been trying to help, and the references to his childhood about if you don't pay, you don't pay attention, and how that wasn't an option for him. It's kind of like therapy. So you can actually go
Yeah.
back and try and help that person. It's not going to be directly you, but the version of you that you will see in other people is someone that you can genuinely create impact for, or actually directly help. Yeah, it allows people to do great things.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite sayings is like, do it for 8-year-old you and do
Yeah.
it for 80-year-old you.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
both sides of things.
Yeah.
That 80-year-old you version of it is really interesting. I try these days to look at my decisions with hindsight, but going forward.
Yeah.
And I haven't come up with a phrase for it yet. I should. But it's, how is that decision that I'm going to make about the action that I'm going to take, how am I going to look back on that decision? And I try and frame a lot of my thinking that way these
Yeah.
days. I think maybe being a parent changes that as well. So how is she going to think about me later?
Oh,
I think about that a lot.
That's so nice. And she'll super appreciate that when she's older.
I hope
as
so.
well.
May or may not.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But hopefully, yeah, that's it.
That's so sweet. Back to just, I guess, entrepreneurship. What would you say are the non-negotiables for building something that lasts?
Something that lasts. I guess it speaks to a lot of the different points that we've already touched on, about problem solving and impact and value. If you can continuously deliver value for that customer, whether that's a time saving, a cost saving, whatever that value looks like, and move with your market and continue to hold your customer in mind, I think that's where the longevity lives. Passion will take you some way. Purpose will take you further. But the nuts and bolts business at the end of it is continued value delivery.
Yeah.
Don't get complacent about that value piece, because it's very easy to, and certain businesses do this, right? They give discounts to new customers and just ignore their existing customers for long periods of time, which kind of drives me crazy. Naming no names. But what we did in the previous business was we always did that customer value piece. And as a result of that, our first customers were our last customers. So the first ever customer that I got when I went out into the streets, when I was doing it scared and didn't know what the hell I was doing, that very first B2B customer that I got was there when I sold 11 years later. And I was really proud of that, because we continued to add value to that customer year on year on year. We never forgot who they were. We never shied away and we're like, well, our new customers are really important, but we're just going to cancel your day, or we're just going to give you a second-rate tech, or whatever it was. It was always maintain that value proposition for them. It was really valuable. And then there were little things that were sprinkled in there. I would always visit. I would always remember names. I would always remember salesmen's names.
Yeah.
I would always deliver stuff to them at Christmas. personally, hand deliver gifts. And we did that for every single customer. It became really laborious towards the end because we had 45 different customers spread over 5 counties. So hand delivering gifts at Christmas became a week. But it's such an old school method, and I think people forget.
Yeah, it makes
that,
people feel important
yeah,
and valued.
exactly. And the fact that they were still there at the sale, I got an incredible message from one guy who was my first ever customer back in 2009. And he sent it to me 6 months after I'd sold the business, basically just telling me how proud he was of me.
That's amazing.
Which was weird because he was about the same age as me. But anyway,
I'm so proud
is
of
that
you,
slightly
son.
condescending? I don't know. But it was great because he said, well, you deliver value all the way through. And
Yeah.
that's why we stayed. So yeah, it creates an opportunity because that also speaks to word of mouth.
Yeah.
Those customers will stay with you, but there'll also potentially be more customers that will talk. Well, that's a recommendation. They were still recommending it after 11 years. And I
Wow.
was still getting customers from that first cold call that I did in 2009, where we
That's
did one
amazing.
job. So yeah.
I think the reason why he said he was so proud of you as well is because essentially you grew together. You were
Yeah.
on the journey together.
Very true.
Yeah, when
Absolutely.
you're invested in someone's journey, you do feel proud of
Exactly.
them, you know?
And you also, because he was my first customer, I guess there was a level of gratitude, but you keep track. You work out where he went, you look after him, and there's always that, mate, can you just do me a favor last minute? Well, yeah, of course we can. We'll find a way. And yeah, just don't forget those first few. It's really important.
That's how you sold the business and everything from that one customer.
Yeah, that's how we grew.
Yeah.
That's how we got our second customer from the
Yeah.
first customer. All the rest of it and the word of mouth that went with it. So
Yeah.
this is it.
And it's nice for people to hear those stories because some people don't think they'll ever get that first customer, but it's just like waiting and then that can grow your whole
Yeah,
business.
absolutely. I always said a long time ago, one conversation can change the trajectory of your life.
Yeah.
That one conversation has happened a number of times for me across different iterations. One of them, of course, was with Simon about 5 years ago. And that led to all of this. But certain conversations will create a pivot point. Obviously, you take action off the back and you follow up and make sure. But one conversation can change your life.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
nice. We go to events quite a lot and we found that every single event we go to does change our life in some sort of way.
we always get something out of every event, and
Yeah.
every person that we meet. Yeah.
An opportunity.
So we always finish with this one question. Adam, what is something that you really wish you knew sooner?
that there are so many different things I wish I knew sooner. And there are lots of different answers to this question. The one thing for me is you've got time. And something I say to my daughter is you're an adult for a really long time, especially when you take into consideration how long childhood is for that frame of reference. So you've got time. You don't have to be a millionaire by the time you're 21, and you shouldn't compare. Take the action, be consistent, but you have time. And do the things that you care about in that time period. Try a bunch of different stuff, because the first thing you do won't be the last thing you do. And don't be afraid to change, because I've changed a bunch of times and I haven't ended up anywhere I thought. But you've got time.
I actually love that so much. I'm like, I want to cry because we're just like, do we have time?
Yeah.
Everyone's
We're
in such a
having our like
rush.
quarter life crisis at the
Yeah.
moment.
Exactly.
We're 30, so we're like at the point where we're like, oh, do we have enough time?
we
Did we
too
make the right
late?
choices?
But I said to Charlotte, I said, I'm going to show my age in a minute, but I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
And she's like, Daddy, you're 40. I was like, sure, but I don't know what's next.
Yeah.
And you can change your career every 10 years. In fact, I have changed my career every 10 years, almost exactly every 10 years. And there's a Baz Luhrmann song from a long time ago which is one of the lines in there is one of the most interesting, some of the most interesting people at 40 still didn't know what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
I've butchered
Yeah.
it horribly, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's okay. It's fine. You don't have to have it all figured out. But you do have to take some action around whatever it is you care about.
Mm.
Take the action, that's fine. That action will lead to other actions. There'll be something that comes off the back of it. The danger is not taking the action, not knowing which way to go. So do lots of things, do lots of stuff, see where it leads, because it will work out.
Yeah.
But you have to consider it. You have to consistently take that action.
I love that so much. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like this
It's inspiring, isn't it?
this conversation has made me go, okay, tomorrow I know what I need to do.
Do an outback.
Yeah.
Take that action.
Yeah, that's amazing. And do you know what? Actually, I wanted to say the one reason that, like, personally, I really wanted you on the podcast is because I really resonate with everything that you post. Like,
Okay.
I'm always liking all your posts because everything you say, I really resonate with it. Like the whole switching careers.
My career
Enjoy
path's
it.
really messy, actually. If you stand back, some of the people that I went to school with are still in the career that
Mm.
we kind of set out in those very early
Yeah.
days. But isn't it more interesting? Isn't it really exciting to have done different stuff and have
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
skills? Jack, who's one of the co-founders that sits directly alongside Simon a lot of the time, is like, you're the most adaptable person that I know. And I think that's a compliment.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it like it's a compliment. But go and do different stuff, because you never know what you might learn. You never know what you'll care about. And I love doing different stuff and learning how to do different things.
Yeah.
And the beauty of being an entrepreneur is you get to choose all the different things you get to go and enjoy and turn your hand to. I'm very fortunate that my job role is incredibly diverse. I can go and interact on community. I can build something digitally, or I can go and physically build something that actually impacts the business. So yeah, I'm quite lucky in that respect. But it's as a result of having learned a bunch of different skill sets over a whole bunch of years. A case in point, about 6 months ago, Simon was like, well, we need a booth that's going to fit in a Virgin hotel. Can you go and build one? I was like, sure.
What?
So we built it on the drive. We put it on the car, drove it into central London, and installed it in the Virgin Hotel. And that's where the doorbell is.
Wow.
But I didn't commission it. I didn't go outside the company. I wrote it down on a piece of paper, built it in an afternoon, put it on the car, and drove it into London, because I built houses and
Yeah.
construction and stud walls and everything else that goes with that. But that goes with everything else that we do as well. It's just go and get a bunch of skills. Why not? It's fun.
Yeah. And now is the time to do that, to get loads of different skills,
Yeah,
because they're
absolutely.
needed, especially with
Absolutely.
AI.
Yeah. I mean, by all means, learn how to use AI, and everyone should.
Yeah.
But, for me, like physically building stuff, and maybe that's, house or whatever it is, but it's the physical stuff in the real world is what's valuable. Because we're not that different to how we used to be 300 years ago, actually. We live in a very fast-paced changing world, and I don't really think we're keeping up. But that's where the joy is all the time.
What would you say to someone listening right now who feels stuck, overwhelmed, and unsure about their future? That sounds like a question for me.
Write that one.
Talked a lot about Simon in this podcast for obvious reasons. The answer to that question for me is the same answer that he gave me when I asked him a similar question, actually. And the answer is go and hang out with people with purpose. If you feel stuck, then work out which bits you care about. Try and put the rest into the background for a bit. Just go and find a way to hang out with people with purpose, because it is infectious. The overwhelm thing is really interesting. I would stop scrolling,
Yeah.
stop doom scrolling,
Yeah.
find people with purpose, narrow your feed, narrow your window, read more, less scroll, and spend time in those spaces with those people in real life if you can, online if you can't.
Yeah.
That will give you a bit of clarity, a bit of focus. And you've got time. So
Yeah.
take some action, be with people with purpose, and realize that you've got time. God, if you're in your 20s, you've got such a long time. So, yeah,
Yeah, for some reason, when you're in your 20s, you just don't think you have that much time.
that's a generational thing.
It's crazy.
Well,
It's
it's
a
because you're always
generational thing.
comparing yourself, probably because we are on social media all the time.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had in my. No, I sound really old, but I had no comparison outside of my direct circle in my 20s.
Yeah.
So we didn't worry about it. And I spoke to my dad about this. And this is a really weird take. Maybe it says more about him than anything else. But he's like, he didn't realize there was going to be an end.
Mm.
He's in his 70s now. And he's only just starting realizing that maybe it's not forever. And he lived his entire life like that
Wow.
without comparison. And I was like, that's a really interesting take. What decisions would you have made differently? But I didn't have a comparator. I didn't have other people to compare myself to. Therefore, I just did the thing that felt right. And I didn't feel rushed.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
this
chase your
idea
own
that you do
happiness.
have more time,
Mm.
you do have more time. What you do now, and the other element of that is the world is moving really quick. Now, you could be really anxious about that. You could be really worried about that. You could very easily be concerned. But whatever you're doing now, you won't be doing in 20 years because chances are it won't exist. The jobs of tomorrow don't even exist yet. So again, going back to Charlotte, is the job that she will do on graduation or in her 20s doesn't exist yet.
Mm.
So don't worry about it. Just get a bunch of skills, get good at a bunch of stuff, make sure you can speak, make sure you can interact with people. I talk about likability being really important because if you're likable, then you'll open doors. And likability is a skill. It's not just a natural intent thing. Some people are more likable than others, of course. But it's underrated. And I think don't worry so much about it. The world's full of worry. We don't have to be.
Yeah.
Go with the flow.
Yeah. Thank
Amazing.
you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much, guys.
It's been such an inspiring
Yeah.
conversation.
It's
Thank
been
you.
amazing, and I think it's going to help so many of our listeners. And it's just really nice to have this conversation with you. So
Thank you so much.
you.